Welcome to Planet Horror for the review of Daylight. A horror survival game that arms you with a smartphone and makes you investigate an abandoned hospital that takes its design and inspiration from iconic Japanese horror films. Launched April 29th, 2014 from Zombie Studios, Daylight for the PlayStation 4, also available on Steam, was written by ex-IGN host Jessica Chobot. I enjoyed my short experiences with Daylight. You play as Sarah, who wakes up in an abandoned hospital and is introduced to her objective by an eerie voice that tells you,
"Ah, good, you've arrived. Sarah, focus. We haven't much time at all. They've been busy, they certainly have. Use that machine in your hand to find your way. There's much to see, much to learn. It's been some time now. This place has been waiting for your arrival. Gather up everything you can. The memories contained within these walls are waiting to be found. Sarah, listen to me. You must succeed."
This game shouldn't be, as it is often, compared to Outlast. Daylight is a completely different style of game. They're both horror survival, but they achieve their scares in different ways. Daylight provides a heavy atmosphere that will offer wave after wave of jump scares and constant tension by creating a feeling of being haunted. And this game is the only game to date that has physically given me chills. As Sarah begins to learn of the hospital's past, where 12 witches were executed and buried on the hospital grounds, with a 13th witch escaping death due to her turning in the other 12 witches, Sarah also discovers that she is a descendant of the 13th witch, and that the angry spirits of the 12 are now seeking vengeance upon her.
What the hell is this?
The player's goal in each level is to search for notes referred to as remnants, by looking for markings using glow sticks picked up at various points in gameplay. Once all the remnants in the level have been collected, usually 6 being the number, the player is able to acquire an item of significance to the hospital's past, such as a teddy bear or Bible. Bringing the item to the Seal of Shadows will unlock the next area, allowing the player to advance. The antagonists, named Shadow Spirits, appear as young girls that have mutilated faces and bodies, with light coming from their eyes and mouths when they attack. They'll also have a mark on their forehead that shows they're witches. There are 12 different marks, one for each witch. They hover, stand, sometimes crawl in a grudge-like fashion towards you. Visits from her become more frequent as you collect more remnants, and she will appear completely at random. Appearances from her will range from moving things in your path to chucking things around and at you. You'll notice your phone /light/map begin to spaz out and act erratically when she's around. You'll hear her grudge-like gargling and you'll feel her presence behind you. Or maybe she'll appear from in front of you, sometimes running toward you, at other times hovering or standing by your side. The whole ordeal is certainly an unsettling one. Looking her directly in the face will drain your health and you'll be killed in a very short amount of time. That is, if you don't whip out a flare and fry the bitch and disintegrate her into a pile of ash. I think they could have done without the flares, as that would have made the game a much scarier experience. Okay, so the game had a few technical issues, but playing through 3 times I was never unable to finish the game or experience any complete crashes and so on. There were moments where, during game loading, it would stutter and hiccup on the PS4, which isn't acceptable, but as I said, it never stopped me from completing the game. The collect 6 notes or remnants to move on system was perhaps a little repetitive, but then most games have a repetitive task. I didn't, for instance, find this as tedious as Ubisoft's "let's find a lookout tower" or a satellite, or "let's hack this network," or whatever they come up with to open up their next area. And seeing as the game has randomized levels, finding the notes meant that they weren't always in the same place, and that you'd have to deal with a shadow spirit any time. I think that was the scariest thing about the game. Puzzles could have been more challenging, as they were more or less just a case of sliding a box here and there. and the climbing animation onto these boxes was ugly. Graphics were impressive in the wooded area, but quite plain otherwise in the hospital, although it did prove to have some nice lighting effects in places. But then you don't play a horror game for its amazing, outstanding graphics, you play it for its atmosphere and its impact. The best way to play this game is with the light off and wearing a headset, or if not a headset, hooked up to a sweet surround sound system. The story was baffling, but if I think for a second of all the horror films I've seen with baffling storylines, and still enjoyed anyway, there were quite a few, and this game was like them. There were areas that could have done with some expansion and smoothing out, but the fact that it managed to evoke such a sense of unease that no other game has yet. I'll rate this game at not quite a 7, but a 6.5. Graphics were impressive in the woods. Nope. Graphics? No. More or less a case of no, that's not what I meant.